everyone. Welcome to the June edition of the Vegan Stew. Happy Pride. And we have been on for 2 weeks. So when that happens, I have to relearn everything that we're going to do. So first, let's say thank you to this month's sponsor, which is Superior Electrolytes, who sponsors pretty much all our festivals for years now. And we absolutely love them. Oh, hey, Stephen. Nice to see you from downstairs. So let's see. So thank you to Superior Electrolytes. And if you'd like to win prizes, you can go to the Vegan Stew or virtualvegfestlive.com and click the contest tab, and you can get entered to win by going to our wish bond 12 prizes this month, which is the same as last month, to our awesome sponsors, which are TerraSeed, Hodo Foods, Veg Key, Cinnaholic, Fabulous, Bernie Wild's Adventure Sauce, Kathy Hester, Trupo Treats, BV Kids, Total Body Lab, Dojo Fresh, and Bitchin' Sauce. Very easy. We love to give stuff away, and you can easily do that pretty much by liking and going to our sponsors pages with our wish bond. If you are on YouTube, or if you ever go to YouTube, or if you don't go to YouTube, go there and like and hit the notification bell for Virtual Veg Fest and the Vegan Stew. We would greatly appreciate that because Virtual Veg Fest is at 948 likes. The goal is 1,000. So it could be you if you haven't liked it yet. So please do. If you have any questions or comments, please make sure to put them into the little box. We love when you join the show and we love when you ask questions. And today we're going to talk about cooking for one. We're going to start talking about all the stuff that's happened over the last 2 weeks that we feel like we need to talk about and Marla needs to vent about and more. So here we go. So there's Marla Rose from Vegan Street.
Hi.
And we've got Ellen Jaffe Jones, who is the veg coach and the author of Vegan for One. I wonder where the topic came from. And then we've got Ms. Kelly up in Canada, the vegan enabler and climate healers, representing the climate side of the Vegan Stew. And this is the crew for tonight. Let's see. I have a link to a school board president named Jackie Goldberg in Los Angeles that I'm not sure how to play that through this, but I'm going to put the link in the comments so that you all can watch this because, man, it brought tears to my eyes when I watched it. It's only 5 minutes of your time, and it's a very good 5 minutes to take and listen to what she has to say. She is a LGBTQ woman who is a grandma now, who is a president of a school board, and we all know how that goes lately. And she just pretty much tells it like, you just need to treat me with respect, even if you hate me. It pretty much sums up what she says. She says it in a fantastic way where it's really, you can't refute it because she's got it down. So I highly recommend watching that because it is Pride Month. You'll support Pride on this channel, and anything we can do to help make everyone else's lives, not just the animals, better and not as difficult, we want to do. So Marla, what do you want to say?
Oh, I'm looking for my pen so I can make notes about all the things I want to blurt out. Well, obviously, the Republicans are lining up right now to toss their various hats in the ring for running for the ticket. And one of the stories I just heard on NPR on All Things Considered is about how expensive it is going to be for all of us in the United States to basically pay for this for Trump being so cavalier with national security secrets. Bless you, Ellen. This is going to millions and millions and millions of dollars to Correct. This is not like if you lose a set of house keys, for example, and it's got your address on it, you're going to want to change your locks, right? We don't know who has had eyes on these top level security secrets, the kind of risk this is going to put people in the military, people living overseas in. And once again, Trump's criminality is pocketed by the rest of us, So I just feel like one of the things that always is gnawing at me is, we know that his base, they're not the party of family values because he bragged, he's been divorced 3 times or whatever. He brags about sexually assaulting women. He makes fun of people who are disabled. That's not family values. And then obviously it's not the party of national security and law and order, right? We can't pretend that it is if you're going to support him when he's done this so flagrantly, so ignorant. Like I'm probably the last person who I don't understand patriotism. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I would never fathom doing something like what he did to put all these lives at risk. So what do they stand for, I guess, is my question, other than their cult leader? They stand for Trump.
One of the things I saw this week was a list of people who have been prosecuted for lesser crimes. Mm-hmm. And the penalties they're paying. So
this is not even if it's a first time offense, this is not a slap on the wrist kind of
right. Right. So bye.
This is espionage, this is treason, this is all those things,
and even if we wanted to subscribe to the idea of innocent until proven guilty. Just listening to what he has said on tape, assuming it hasn't been created by artificial intelligence, if all that's true, scary stuff.
It is. And I think that's the point is nobody here is trying to convict him. Nobody's necessarily saying he did those things, although he did do them. But but what we're saying is, I can't imagine this is anything but a cult at this point, right? Because what do they stand for but this leader? They're not supporters of the police, right? Because we saw what they did on January 6th. They're not who they're not. They're definitely not my parents' Republican Party, right? And that's understandable. Like Trump has broken he should really have his own party, but yeah, it's scary stuff,
It's really scary stuff because it impacts every single one of us, including those people who follow or cultly follow him, because that's the reason why there's people on school boards who are afraid for their lives. That's why that's why people are being shot at grocery stores, movie theaters, parks, graduations, in school, college, elementary school, middle school, high school, private Catholic school. Pretty much anywhere is fair game now because the laws are changed because of this other party.
Right.
And he's the essential leader of that party. And it makes for the sane people who can think critically and can think. It makes for, that's a weird comment. It makes for
maybe my ring. I don't know.
I don't know. It makes it difficult for us to live here because it brings up a lot of fear.
We're basically hostages, right? To the gunfighter.
And you don't want to have to stay in your house and worry about if I go and do A, B, C, D, E, F, or your kids or your family members or anyone you love. It's hard because, you know, we all love people that are queer. We all love people that are children.
Mm-hmm.
We all love people that are of color. We all love people that are Jewish. They're all in danger.
Yes, absolutely. I think, Kelly, I think you were on this thread. I think the thread got deleted, but somebody on Facebook was talking about the sports issue of transgender females performing, you know, and to be honest, I understand the complexity of that issue. I do allow that is a complex issue, and one that's worthy of, you know, a nuanced, fair conversation about women in sports and if they're getting crowded out, you know, because of this. But so I said that is the conversation to have. But here's the thing: all over that thread were people who I think are vegans because we have.
They were. I checked all their profiles before I blocked them. Right. They weren't even my friends. I went, if this is your way of thinking, if you liked this post, if you supported this post in any way, shape, or form, I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Right.
They were all vegans.
I feel like the post itself was, you know, on the innocuous side of just asking questions, which can be annoying. But
what
some
was
of
the
the
post
comments,
for those of us who didn't see
it? I know. So please, more.
The post was basically, I thought I had described it maybe. But like the post was from someone who's basically like, I'm trying to. Just like Kelly, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but like just basically, like I don't have an issue with trans.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with trans people, but I think allowing biological men to play in women's sports is going too far. And it's like you can't say I don't have a problem with trans people and then acknowledge a woman as a man who a woman, right? So you're just, you know, you're trying to not sound anti-trans, but you're anti-trans,
right?
So just call it as it is, and if to, you know, kind of poke and, you know, try to get a conversation going. And
a lot of the comments were so alarming and discouraging, of just like calling trans people freaks and perverts and all these people suddenly caring about women's sports. And one of the comments I made, the only comment I made, I think the whole post got deleted, but just like basically, you know, I do believe that this is a conversation worth having in respectful and nuanced ways. But if you're not showing up for people with uteruses who are directly in harm's way because of how the Supreme Court torpedoed Roe v. Wade, shut the F up, because this affects way more of us. And it is deadly. And so I guess that's my point, is just like, I feel like so many of the people who are pretending to care about the sanctity of women's sports, are you showing up for women in any other way? Are you showing up for people with uteruses in any other way? You know, all of a sudden you give a shit about women's sports. You know, so that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, it really bothered me because it was like they're trying to make it seem it's like all these trans women are like becoming trans women just to get into women's sports and take over, and you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you said, like, they don't
happens
care.
all the time.
The media, it's like the media's to blame by trying to make, like, are we dealing with what, 1, 2 people, maybe 3 people?
Right.
How many trans women who are not in women's sports?
That a person is going to change their gender and put themselves at grave personal risk so they can lurk around in bathrooms? What the actual F? You know, I mean, like, that there are people who really believe that. that they're going to go through all that.
Well, Marla, that's called projection, because everything
We
they
know who they
say put onto trans people or people of color or just anybody they hate is stuff they do. And that gets proven over and over and over again. So every time they open their mouths
in
and
your
they
own
start,
heart,
and they
right?
start complaining about or criticizing or going after A, B, C, D, E, or F, it's because that's what they have done. They have slept with children. They have slept with a trans person.
Rapes. Yeah.
They have been with someone of their own sex and they liked it.
Yeah.
And it all eventually comes out. Enough of it has come out that, that, and I'm just so scared for our population or our populace.
As a reporter, I saw that all the time. The hypocrisy. It's like the number one thing that comes out in these kinds of stories.
Right.
So
yeah, it's scary how many weak-minded people have been hypnotized.
It is like a mass hypnosis, right?
Manipulated into, because it's not the water, because we drink the same water.
Well, I do think, they have proven, there are studies now that, Fox News and conservative media in general does affect the brain, and I have friends who have lost decent, caring, kind parents to that. I mean, it's basically turning your brain into mush, and
maybe we should do a segment on cults, because we were about to say drink the Kool-Aid, and where does that come? That comes from the Jim Jones cult that I think was really, when I was a reporter, one of the first, maybe the first cult. They literally had people drink Kool-Aid that was laced with cyanide, and hundreds of people died as a result of doing this. And we're all scratching our heads, like, how could they do this?
It's a cult, and
mental cyanide that people are drinking and not even realizing what it's done.
I still hold like that when Trump said, when he was running in 2016, that I could shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue and people would still love me. I still hold that is the most self-aware thing that he's ever said, and maybe the most true thing that he's ever said, because I do believe it. They would find justifications and it wouldn't be hard. And like what Kelly and I saw yesterday is, it does not take much for the hate to rise to the surface, and just such unbridled, ignorant hate like that. There's a bakery in the distant suburbs. I don't even think you could call it suburbs anymore, of Illinois, that had to close. They're very vegan friendly because they had some drag brunches, and they were targeted relentlessly by the people who used to show up with Operation Rescue and stuff, with their signs every day. They were vandalized, thousands and thousands of dollars of damage. This was a bakery in a town that doesn't have a lot, that was also donating baked goods to charities, and had free programming of writing your own, how to write a good resume and that sort of thing. It's gone because they were at so much day and night harassment and personal risk. I wrote about them for Veg News, but the point is that these people are dangerous. They're lacking empathy, and they're armed.
Well, they're not actually lacking empathy.
Yeah.
Because they just hate who they hate. Does that make sense? Right. They don't know, because if they sat and listened to this conversation, they would think that we're wrong.
Right.
That we're out of our minds, that we don't know what we're talking about. We're in the cult. We're in the cult of
liberalism.
We're the snowflakes. We're the people
groomers.
Right, we're groomers. We're all these things. We're eating little kids, like actually eating them, not sexually eating them. So, and maybe that too. They think that all this stuff is happening. They think JFK, who the president who was
Right.
killed is coming back to life.
Right.
And
Who
went-
wasn't even
and
a
went-
Republican.
and went to Dallas to watch it happen
Mhm.
as they get fleeced for thousands and thousands of dollars.
JFK
and-
Jr. I think they
Yeah.
thought, yes.
I mean, they thought the president.
No, I mean, but they are lacking empathy though when they think that wiping us out is, that we're
Right.
just
Oh yeah.
mutants to kill. But the other thing is that there's a really excellent book, and I won't linger on it too long because we need to get to the
topic.
tofu of it. But
A very light topic, actually.
there's an excellent book called I believe it's called Against Empathy. But the premise of it is that empathy is actually destructive, because empathy means that I believe I understand how you feel. So we tend to empathize with those who are most like us, who look like us, who come from similar socioeconomic groups and that sort of thing. And what the author said, who's a professor of philosophy, I believe, is that the huge support for Trump in 2016 was actually an empathic response. It was all these people saying, he understands me. He he understands my kind of people. And what this guy,
Right, blue collar.
no,
Blue
but
collar,
anyway,
the
the
working
point
people,
is,
because the rich man who doesn't pay his bills
right,
completely will have you over for dinner.
that's brainwashed.
In no world whatsoever. I'm not even sure if he would have you in his house to clean his toilets.
Yeah.
So, I hear you. I mean, empathy to me is understanding someone because you've been through it too.
Mhm.
That's where empathy comes in. Otherwise, it's sympathy. If you haven't ever been through what that person's been through, you're sympathetic towards them. You're empathetic when you've actually gone through what they've gone through, and that you can have that relation with them. So it's very interesting to me that I think they related to this person because of what he said, and completely dismissed any actions that he actually has done
No,
and
it's
continues to do.
The convictions, the
Massachusetts.
previous convictions. It's like, oh, I think I've said this before. When I worked at Smith Barney in the early 2000s, we were just shaking our heads like, how is this guy a CEO? And he's still continuing to be successful. Why would anybody invest in any of his companies, kind of thing? We were asking those questions way before politics was on the radar.
Yeah. Well, it feels like in this country, if you maybe things are changing. I hope so. But like, if you have this certain, like, to me, he's always been a monopoly figure, like Mr. Moneybags. He has that affect, so people fall for it. Whether or not it's true. But it's like, it shows once again that being a mediocre man with like confidence, or whatever you want to call that he has, I don't even know if it's confidence, that how much access you get to money, to
Arrogance.
Arrogance. But
actually, it's not either
it's
of those.
overcompensation, right? Like, it's
narcissistic.
Yeah, but it's
beyond.
it's beyond.
it's too,
because truly confident people don't do that, right? Like, truly confident people.
Well, there's a book, I believe it's written about Trump, called The Confidence Man. And if it's not about him, it's about others. I mean, con men, that's where that phrase comes from.
Exactly.
And, that's been like around for, TV reporters thrived on that kind of stuff. And classic profiles.
You do realize that in the vegan world, we could easily do what Trump has done, right?
Which part?
The part of convincing people to hand over their money and to go vegan and to save the planet. That if we use the same tools that they use, we could easily create our own cult. And because clearly we've already proven that some of those people are part of this, but it's tried and tried again. It works. And
I'm still waiting for the money part to work.
Well, you have it. It takes it's what
you
they're
need to get
doing. What
co-leader.
they're doing is somewhat brilliant.
I'm a woman.
If you really think about it, what they're doing is somewhat brilliant, and it works because it's been proven to work over and over again. That's why I look at it and go, if we were to do that with veganism,
Right.
it would probably work. However, it is extreme. It is wrong. And that's ethically, we don't do that. So Democrats don't fight back. They don't stand up. They don't do the things that they're doing. If they did, we'd be in a much better position. But we kind of fall along the lines of we want to do the right thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that. I do think that there are vegans who are out there to try to become cult leaders, but that's more to pad their pockets,
right.
and
they're eating by themselves. So
that's a good segue.
Yes. Well, we hope that they are eating by themselves, and Ellen can teach them how to prepare food for one.
Oh, now, I see your segue. I was like,
it's really funny. So I'm cooking for one, eating for one. There's a lot of people who are single who instead of cooking, they order in, they eat out. They never prepare food, because a lot of times when you're buying food, like when you buy pasta, you're buying 12 to 16 ounces at a time. However, you're not cooking 12 to 16 ounces at a time if you're just cooking for yourself, unless you enjoy tons of leftovers. And a lot of people don't like to eat leftovers for as many days as it might take to eat a pound of pasta if you're one person. Because it's no longer a pound of pasta. Once you add more things into it, it becomes 2-3 pounds of pasta. And that is a very heavy meal to eat every single day for dinner, and it gets boring. So you end up eating out. And also you don't want to go food shopping as often as you might have to, because you're probably going to throw out a lot of food. But Ellen recognized this, and I've been single. I've lived by myself. I cooked, I would cook enough pasta for one meal as opposed to, or two if I wanted to eat leftovers. Because when you cook a really good meal and you don't make leftovers, it really sucks. So you're like, wow, I really want to eat that tomorrow, but I didn't make enough. But, it's a whole different animal when it comes to shopping, when you're shopping for one person. Just adding another person into the mix just makes it almost easier to cook.
Right.
Because food is kind of like sold for probably at least 2 to 4 people in a household. So Ellen, talk to us about why you wrote the book Vegan for One and what you learned.
Well, at the time, this was my 5th book, written after, I guess technically, my 5th book was Vegan Sex, and then my publisher didn't think it would sell. Imagine that, and ended up, when it did start selling, buying the rights to that. So, as I like to joke, if Vegan Sex doesn't work out, Vegan for One. At the time we were researching it, and these numbers were pretty strong, that most people in the US live alone, do not have partners. And so, when you cross all the demographics, I think over the age of 21 or something like that. And I know I haven't researched that recently, but the bottom line is we waste way, way, way too much food. Most of the cookbook recipes have servings anywhere, minimum 4, but usually up to 8, 10, sometimes 12 servings. So, we thought, and then the problem, of course, also then is if you do live by yourself, you are mono eating and not getting enough nutrition. So that's the other part of this equation of trying to come up with recipes that cover all those bases. Interestingly, the partner I am living with now has decided to remodel his house. So just kind of looking around the room here, I thought kind of like a Vegan for One here. So I have actually set up kitchen here, and it's like living in a tiny home. But the blender, just in terms of tips, there's the NutriBullet. Now, I hope I'm not getting you dizzy on the merry-go-round here, but the BlendTech is over there, and I'm just not using that in these kind of small, cramped quarters where I have like one sink that doesn't have a garbage disposal in it at the moment. It's the laundry sink. So, it's kind of going into this camping mode where you are on your own. But so the refrigerator is working in the freezer. So, and that's one of the big tips in my book is so that you don't waste food. Don't be afraid to go frozen. I have lots of different bags of vegetables and easily goes into a stir fry. And I will say that I do a lot of canned, really getting a flair for this here. We'll just move over to this side. So my favorite canned food of all times, I mean, this can be just a meal for me.
Mahogany.
And I know it's
Yum.
probably, nasty stuff, GMO'd, all that. But the other thing that I heard yesterday is that the CPI was just released and the price of food, except for eggs, are now going down. They went astronomically high. Now I guess they're correcting, but the price of food is just even getting higher. So that's part of this. It's not only, you don't want to waste food and just cook pasta all the time, but, to be able to afford to be able to do this. So, oats are, and I'll splurge on oats and try and get non-GMO organic. And these are even sprouted, gluten-free. I mean, like, how many labels can we throw on this? And of course, it's going to be more expensive, but still a 4th cup of oats. And I'm looking for my measuring cup here. It's somewhere, but that's what I have for breakfast, and, frozen fruit and some nuts. And that's breakfast. So I'll make a big salad for lunch. If there's any leftovers, it goes for dinner. And just trying to include as a lot of, again, this is going to be a whole lot cheaper getting a can of beans than going for the already made soup. So, the difference in price, but are you going to get more nutrition from the can of soup that has a lot more? Is it really going to look like that picture on the front with all those vegetables? No. But, you can always juice it up with adding tomatoes and basil from the garden this time of year. But, I don't have a problem just eating. This is what I did today. I had a whole can of garbanzos that I plopped in a salad. And and even though I live with a partner, I often eat alone because, we're crazy workaholics. So sometimes it is like live alone. Another thing that I like to do. So sometimes when you're alone, you might want to emotionally eat. And so,
or when you live with other people.
What? Or when you live with other crazy people.
Microwave
how many of you
popcorn.
guys have this? Do you know what this is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that a popcorn popper thing?
It is for the microwave.
Okay. Yeah. You just throw it in the microwave. And did I wash? No, I didn't wash it out the last time. But you just put, you fill this top like a couple of times, dump it in, and 3 minutes later, you've got this whole thing is full of popcorn. This is Borsalite glass. They use this to make teapots that you can actually put on the stove. And I do like to do the green tea thing. That helps with metabolism, energy, and gives you a few antioxidants if you're not getting them elsewhere.
And you can also, one of the things, like somebody wants dessert and you want to make a whole cake or a whole thing of cookies, or because that's just a recipe for disaster. If you live alone and unless you have some severe self-control, you're probably going to eat way too much too soon. But you can make a mug cake or a mug brownie or a mug cookie. It's so easy to do, and it's very versatile. And like 3 minutes later, like literally 5 minutes, we'll say, because you have to actually put the stuff in the mug, you will have a dessert that you can eat. And obviously you can add ice cream to it if you have it. You can add whipped cream to it. You can do it, or you can just eat the cake the way it is. We were adding like organic jams or jellies to them that we've gotten at Costco. And you just, It's delicious.
Yeah.
Very simple. I wasn't adding oil. The recipes all call for oil. You don't have to add it.
Yeah. Mhm.
So it comes out fine without it. So just like you don't need eggs to create a cake, you don't need to actually have the oil in the little cake. Oh, there's Steven saying mud cakes. Yep, mud
Yeah.
cakes. So
Mm.
there are things that you can do, even if you're two people, and you're not making like a ton of stuff.
Mhm.
But I mean, I
So it,
remember one of the things I liked to do when I was living alone is I would invite people over so I could
Mhm.
cook more. That was always fun.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, it was typical with the book publishing company, which is my publisher, and they publish a lot of great vegan books, is they have like a whole week's meal plan. That was kind of a prerequisite for doing the book. And then it has links or descriptions of the recipes. So things like a green detox smoothie, overnight oats, that's another one that's easy to do for one, and just add the nut. You can add nut butter, avocado toast. That's like in every single restaurant now. Smoothie bowls, Dr. Greger has a lot of smoothie bowl packages that he sends out, but those are servings like for a lot. Like if you ate the whole package, that's a lot of calories. Tex-Mex burritos, pecan waffles, potato and veggie skillet. Skillet dinners are easy to throw together. No yolks, egg salad, tomato vegetable soup, split pea soup, 30-minute chili. Chilies are good. Butternut squash recipes. Those can be, if you do the whole squash, it'll have leftovers for the next meal.
Mhm.
Um, So energy balls, those are another thing. They might be a little more calorie dense if you don't want to do that. Fresh fruit with vegan yogurt, lots of different vegan yogurts in the stores. Oatmeal raisin cookies, not too many calories there. Seeded kale chips, fresh fruit dishes, baked apples. Oh, those are easy, like single serving kinds of things you can do. Seitan and veggie stew. Tempeh is always a good thing. You can saute up and make it like vegan bacon. Personal pita pizzas, they have those little pita pockets that are small and kind of simple things. Curried lentils. So that's just kind of a little overview of what some of the recipes are to give you an idea of how you can kind of do it in a single serve fashion.
I was going to say a couple little things is number one, my mom did not like leftovers, and for the life of me, I can't understand. I get so excited when I see leftovers in our fridge. I am so happy for leftovers. Leftovers just fill me with a ridiculous amount of joy. But the other thing is that John is currently eating a different diet than us because of some dental work he's had done. So he's basically having like smoothies and soups. Those are so easy to do yourself, for one. And so like you could just think of it like you know, if you don't have to, you probably don't want to just constantly have like soups and smoothies, but it is a really easy thing to do for eating for one. And then the other thing I got really Zorina. I got really irritated because John went to the grocery store and he bought all these soups. And I'm like, I could make so much more for you at a fraction of the cost, than buying these individual things, so that becomes an issue. But the last thing I wanted to ask or to say, Ellen, do you recommend getting an additional freezer if you're kind of thinking in terms of thriftiness and all of that?
It's interesting.
Yeah, sorry.
When I lived up north in St. Louis, and having kids, which was not single, but that's when I had a second freezer refrigerator. When I moved down here, I lived with someone who did not eat the same way I did, which was the birth of Kitchen Divided. And that was my second book. But he had his frozen dinners outside in the garage. The only problem with that is like during hurricane season and storm season, if you lose electricity, and that happened a couple
Yeah.
times, you lose a lot of food.
Yeah,
So
that's
I am not a real big fan of having too much
right.
frozen stuff, being prepared to lose it at any moment.
Yeah, that's true.
So it just depends, I guess, is the nice real
Yeah.
estate answer to say where
I have
you
2
are.
fridges and a deep freezer.
Should we ask what's in them?
Dead
A deep
bodies.
freezer.
Sorry.
Dead bodies? Did you just say that?
I did.
Is a deep freezer one of
No, I'm
those like
kidding.
low things? A deep freezer is like a case, right?
Well, yeah, it's one of the ones that you open and you go
Yeah,
into, like climb
that's good.
into. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we got one of those over COVID because I was living with a housemate and Stephen was here, but it didn't matter. We fill the freezers up, like they're full. I mean, there's vegetables and there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. I could probably clean out that freezer now because we're not home, so there's less food going into it. But our freezers in the 2 refrigerators are full. They're full.
Now, see, here in Florida, I think everybody is kind of conditioned to like
Sure.
cleaning out the freezer as we enter now peak hurricane season because nobody really wants to get caught with it. But I have frozen corn, frozen cauliflower, a lot of frozen veggies that I can throw into a stir fry. And I pretty much always have those on hand. Frozen Brussels sprouts. I mean, some of us have our favorite veggies, and I'll eat a whole bag of Brussels sprouts and not feel guilty about it and feel very full at the end of that. And of course, the whole grains are always around, the rice and quinoa to include. So, and the spices, I mean, that's another thing, like, okay, why not? Can you see over there? So there is a microwave there, and then the spices are on top. So if I don't have an onion, I'll just throw
Onion
onion
powder.
spice in there. Yeah.
What room in the house are you in?
Yeah, right.
So this normally is a really, really lovely room. That is a fireplace over there. That is my guitar in front
Oh,
of
this
it.
is the living room.
It is a living room. So here's the deal. God love Troy. He is, his father died this year. And the game plan was this side of the house, which is this room, a bedroom and a bathroom, were going to be for his dad, assuming that his dad was going to outlive his stepmom. Instead, the reverse happened. So now we have potentially a stepmom and daughter who may come to live with us. So,
And daughter, whoa.
yeah. So, I mean, that may or may not happen, but we're setting it up. It could also be an Airbnb. I mean, there's he's converting a bathroom into like a little kitchenette. And then, we have the kitchen and our bedroom on the other side of the house. So long-winded answer. So pretty much everything that we didn't want to get plaster dust on it is in this room, including, and I am so proud to say that this rocking chair is the rocking chair I nurse my 3 babies in. So if I go into a little rocking mode like that, it's like, all right.
Kelly.
I was going to give a couple of suggestions as well. We kind of skipped over dessert now, but like chia chocolate pudding. Like I love using like jars now. So I'm using jars for everything. So you can just buy jars. That's like a small jar. It's a good individual portion. And like chia pudding is literally just like milk and some cocoa powder and maple syrup and a spoonful of chia seeds. And just leave it in the fridge, and you got yourself like a dessert for one. But using ice cube trays. So if you don't want to like waste, say, tomato sauce or something, just portion them out and then just take out 2 when you like make your individual portion. Or if you make pesto, like freeze them, in ice cube trays, and then that way, you just take them out when you need them, or herbs or anything like that.
Right. We did a lot of that when my son was little. Poor Ellen. When my son was little, and the thing is that then you pop them out of the tray and you put them in a freezer bag, so it doesn't take up that much space, you know. And it's just a very convenient way.
Happy birthday, Justice.
No, thank you. My baby.
So just some little things, because I think I have my life's possessions in this room. So these are things you can throw on salad, a little seaweed to really an organic Pacific. So hopefully it doesn't have radiation in it. Miso cups, I'll use these for flavoring whole grains, but I'll also just drink it as a soup, and they come in single serve packages. So, you've got tofu and the seaweed in them. Sometimes I'll, add more of my own tofu. And then I also use salsa to just dump in everything, like to kind of flavor up beans or grains or put them together. That's just a really fast, always on hand kind of single serve recipe.
You can be like Chef AJ and put them on potatoes. Because Chef AJ is all about carbs, because Dr. McDougall. But AJ has been here, and she had us go to Trader Joe's. She bought a bag of potatoes and a jar of salsa, cooked like 3 or 4 potatoes in the microwave, and put the salsa on it, and that's what she ate. I think all weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. That's no salt, no sugar, no oil.
Right.
It's an SOS diet for AJ. But people are afraid of potatoes. And that's a great suggestion too. Like, I love microwave potatoes. Love them. I mean, a baked potato in the oven is great too, but I love microwave potatoes, and that's like incredibly versatile. So
outside is the basil that is like out of control this time of year, and I put that on everything, and I almost feel like I'm getting my servings of greens by doing that. But certainly in any kind of marinara, I'll use that, but on top of potatoes as well. And then every once in a while, I'll go buy some chives in a pot, and they'll like survive for a few months until I successfully kill them. And putting those on potatoes also really jazzes them up.
The addition to keep chives in a pot is a really good suggestion, because you don't want to plant those directly, because they will take over. But we use so many chives. But I think the idea of fresh herbs when you can get them, it keeps things interesting. And I will also, like, even though I live with 2 other people, we eat every meal but dinner by ourselves, and almost always it's just like beans, salsa, salad greens, whatever it is, and it's never too much. I don't have leftovers of those.
Well, we're Jews, and we like to have food around.
Yes,
it's just the way, and Italians too. It's what's in my household. But Stephen's really not like that at all. It's me. I can feed an army. And when I come home from Veg Fest, I always come home with a bunch of food.
Well, you never know, right?
It's true. You never know. Oh, Brie has something to say.
Leftovers are the best. You keep adding all the things to it. You can extend. There's a whole cookbook. I think it's called like Extending the Meal or something like that, from, I don't know, like Quakers or Mennonites or something. But it's like, basically you make a chili one day of the week, and that's how it keeps it from getting boring, is like what Brie is saying. You just keep adding stuff to it for different meals. So if you have chili one night, a different night you can have chili dogs, a different night you can have taco salad, a different night it could be this or that. So it's just kind of just keep it exciting. And I agree with you, Brie. Adding a teaspoon of instant coffee keeps me happy.
I've never heard of that to a smoothie. That's very interesting to me.
Well, especially
I don't like coffee, so I would never think to do it.
I don't either, but if it's like a cocoa kind of smoothie, then it's kind of mocha-ish. But yeah, I'm not a huge, I don't drink coffee myself.
No coffee. I drank some Thai tea in Greenville. I had 2 cups the night before the festival, and I didn't go to sleep.
Yeah, I can't.
So
super sensitive. I can't even have I can't have green tea. I can't have white tea. I can only drink herbal tea. But
Ellen
if I
looks like she
do
has
it
like little
early
birds
enough,
in her hands.
what's
Like
that?
little chicks.
Mangoes
Mangoes.
that are dropping off our neighbor's tree. They beg us to pick them up because if we don't, the rats get them, and then they have a much worse problem. So it's important if you are buying mangoes in the store to make sure they've got a little bit of color on them and they're kind of soft to the touch. Because once they get to that point, then they'll start to deteriorate pretty quickly. If you want to eat them, throw them in the fridge at that point. But mango season right here through August in Florida. So we're very lucky, all the neighbors. Right now we are doing a mango tasting test to see which is our favorite mango. There's like dozens of species or varieties of them. And whichever one wins, we're going to plant that tree. So
that's
what
exciting.
to do is plant, something you can eat. If you can find that further up north, it might be peach tree or something.
Blueberries going on back here.
Cool.
I've got blueberries. So we had some blueberries off the blueberry bush in the backyard the other day.
Nice.
Yes, I like the turtles eating the blueberries.
Aw,
and the birds and the raccoons and everybody else who lives in the yard. Yes. And they're so delicious. Like we grew this. I grew lettuce. I got one of those planters that have the light and like a minimal water in it. And we grew 6 different types of lettuce.
Wow.
And it's amazing. Like in 2 weeks we had like tons of lettuce. And now I harvest my lettuce and it's growing back from the stem.
Awesome.
Because it keeps growing. I read that because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it like every day. I'm watching from the stem. I was like, look at that. So I talked to them. It's what you have to do.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah. So I guess we all kind of know what it's like to. It's very funny to me that each of us probably eats vegan for one every day, even though we have other people in our households.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Sit down and have breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Like I think a lot of us work from home or have flexible schedules. It's like the times I've had lunch at home with occasionally we've gone out to lunch, but it's almost always like every person for him or herself until dinner. Right. You're like, who's got time for this?
Yeah. And the thing is, the frozen Amy's dinners and lunches and all that, I mean, they're nice, but they're expensive. I mean, the price of food is just going crazy. And so on page 15, I've got like all these different foods to have on hand so that, you're not kind of caught blind, like, oh, what are we going to eat tonight? So, divided with between staples, canned goods, frozen goods, seasonings, optional packaged staples, and then frozen foods and seasonings. Some of it's probably common sense and you probably already have, but maybe not. It just gives you ideas on what kind of speaks to you and what is, what would it take for you to open that can of green beans? Maybe you want to put some cayenne pepper on it or something. Cult. It's not just another boring can of green beans. Although I will eat a whole can of green beans.
I think sometimes it takes familiarity with cooking. Like, just dropping someone in a kitchen who's not familiar with cooking and how to spice things and how to add things is like, I think a lot of times people have a problem with that. But like, I think that
as the price of food goes up, people are going to get real about like, well, how can I cut costs here? And there are things like I always keep on hand. Like I like garlic chips versus the powdered garlic because it gives me like a sense of crunch and texture. And the texture of food often is what people like more than the taste or as much. I almost tore my quad last night running. It's a long story. And so on my way home, I was going to pick up something for Troy and then decided there in the juice section, there was a turmeric and ginger, 2 of the best anti-inflammatory ingredients you can have mixed in with a carrot juice drink. And it wasn't probably cost effective, but it spoke to me at the time. And so I'll have those 2 spices on hand as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Different kinds of chili spices to add to the
Mhm.
beans, those kinds
Mhm.
of things to make it
Mhm.
more palatable.
Right. And I think having long-lasting produce like onions and garlic and ginger, potatoes around here don't they start growing eyes pretty early on, so you have to, but the point is that might be more of an emphasis for people who are cooking for themselves, also going in with a list and being kind of strategic about it, not just kind of showing up without a
Right,
plan.
right. The other thing
And
to do is,
not
like,
being
make
hungry.
veggie burgers, and freeze them,
That's nice.
before you cook them or after you cook them, just not both. But, the processed veggie burgers at the stores, I mean, they're just getting worse and worse, it seems. So,
Mhm.
it's really not that hard to make your own. I have 3 different
No.
recipes and eat vegan on $4 a day.
Or even
Uh,
like lentil burgers.
right.
Yeah.
You have
We
to
were
think, I'm by myself.
right.
Therefore, like, how do I make one lentil burger? Make a recipe for 4 or 8 or whatever, and just make them into patties and freeze them.
Right, right.
Yeah. We were at the Chicago Diner last weekend for my son's birthday, and one of the specials
Jelly,
they had was that
jelly,
no
and jelly.
one of the specials they had, and it just like is so 1990s, but I don't know. It called to me. I'm a 1990s vegan. Was a black bean burger with like
Mm.
Coleslaw under and but the point is that's what our burgers were for the longest time, and it's so easy to make at home. I don't feel like everyone needs to be a home cook, but I
Right.
can't emphasize enough how it's less complicated than people seem to think, you know. But
Yeah.
there
Exactly.
are certain things that can aid it, like getting a food processor or getting a blender or something like that. Those kinds of things can make it much easier.
Yeah, I always tell people you do not have to be a gourmet chef. I'm not a gourmet chef. I just was a single working mom of 3
Yeah,
kids and wanted to get food on the table in a
yeah.
hurry at the end of the day. And that's really all these recipes are.
And just a side note, if this just is completely foreign to you and you're not going to cook, because there are just people who are just not going to cook, and you're going to eat out, please support the vegan businesses that you enjoy eating the food from. And also understand that there's a lot of chatter about the cost of purchasing food when you're out. Well, if you go to the supermarket, maybe you're not because you're eating out all the time, well, then you notice that prices have gone up, and everything has gone up. The cost of labor
Right.
has gone up.
Labor
Overhead has gone up. Rent has gone up. Food
Mhm.
costs have significantly gone up. So if you're going to eat out and you're going to support these businesses, small businesses, shop small, shop local, then understand that that's the cost of
Right.
eating out or purchasing out now. And
Yeah.
basically, I say food truck prices are in that 15 to 20 something dollar range for a sandwich. And then when you go out to eat to just a regular restaurant like you used to, you're probably paying in that 20 something range,
Yeah.
which used to be fine dining range. And now the fine dining range is in that $30 to $50 range.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
where things have gone. And it's understandable if you can't afford that.
Sure.
However,
Yeah.
when you do and you make that choice to go out and dine and support, please try and support your small businesses because they need it more than Olive Garden. They need it more than buying as much as it's awesome that Taco Bell has the vegan crunch wrap and you guys want to try it, and it's only in 3 stores in the country at the moment and they are selling out. They're not who needs the money.
Right.
It's if you want to keep your vegan businesses thriving, you need to go and actually support them because they're not thriving. It's a very difficult year. As much as COVID was difficult, this is
Well, this is all
probably
still part of that, right? This is all still part of supply chain issues and
And just the loans that people got, the forbearances, forgivenesses they got during COVID, time's up on those. And
yeah,
that's
it's
really
rough.
what we're seeing.
Tough.
There are
It's
a couple
rough for
restaurants
everyone.
on the main street in Sarasota that just closed in the last couple weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty big
And I
restaurants. So
I feel bad because I feel like I have one Republican friend. I like literally have one Republican friend. And he texts me every time a vegan restaurant closes. I'm like, it's not Biden, okay? I know what you're trying to imply here. But I mean, first of all, it's a very difficult business to,
Very difficult business.
Oh, yeah.
but
It's rough
It's
to
just-
do on when times are normal and prices are not extraordinary.
Right.
yeah.
So, and that's why if you have the ability and you have the income to be able to go out, do that. That's why I say Veg Fest. If you're going to come to the Veg Fest, come and spend money. Those vendors
Do
are
that
there.
and
The
tip,
vendors are
yeah.
there for you to spend money, not to
Yeah.
sample them to death, not to just come and walk around and not spend a penny.
Mm.
The event is set up so that you come and spend money because they paid to be there and they need to make money so that they'll come back. That's why they'll come back. If nobody spends money at Veg Fest,
Right.
then the vendors can't come, and then you don't get
Right.
the festival. And that's it. And that's what's happening at the restaurants. If you don't go and patronize the restaurants, and then they close, and you're like, oh, I meant to go there. Well, no, go, bring friends, go.
True, but like, as you said, there are a lot of people who are also financially struggling. So it's just like, when you are going to spend your money and you're not economizing at home, then do support the local because they are so in harm's, they're struggling, everyone right now. And sometimes it just pivots on a dime. Like they were doing so well a year ago and now it's just terrible. So yeah, it's just don't assume that they're okay.
Right. Don't and labor, there's still labor issues. There's just so many issues that businesses and especially the restaurant field are dealing with. But you have the power to make a business's day. So
There's also, oh, sorry.
Hi, Kelly, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's also there's this app that I use and it's a food waste app. And it's called Too Good to Go. I don't know if it's just in Canada or not, but if you can go on these apps and search vegan and if the vegan businesses have registered, you can like help them further waste food by buying like stuff at the end of the day. Like there's a little bakery that you get like $21 worth of product for a third the price. So they're still making money. They're reducing waste, and if you're strapped for money, you're still supporting a vegan business and getting a treat at a significantly lower price. So it's like a win-win-win.
Yeah.
That's right. So you're getting Too Good to Go.
It's an app.
Yeah, and then there's Flash Food. Those are the two I'm using right now. Now, Flash Food tends to be, again, it's all different businesses. A lot of them are like grocery stores, and you just buy a box, and they take a picture of what's inside the box, and then it's a price. And it's usually it's like $5. You get like a big box of food, right? So, I mean, those are great too. You buy the box, chop up your veggies, and you've got your, or fruit or whatever you're getting, and like you have your veggies for a week for like $5-10.
Oh, that's brilliant because I mean, you're getting the bread that's a little stale. You're getting the donuts that are not fresh from the morning, and that's what air fryers and microwaves and ovens are for. Because once you do that, it freshens stuff up, and then you can eat it, and then it's like almost like new when it comes to bread.
It's not bad. It's just not brand speaking new.
It's like the tomato that's. The tomato that has a little dent. Americans are infamous for not buying food that doesn't look perfect.
Yes.
Except in Florida where we have ugly ripe tomatoes.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Well, does anyone else have anything to share?
I do not.
I think our topic next week is going to be, when do you post? When do you out someone? When do you stay quiet?
Ooh.
Yeah. I think that'll be a
Get
fun one.
ready.
Because we all, think about that one for a week, because I'm sure over the course of the week, it'll happen. It'll definitely happen. Okay, yes. So let's see. All right. Thank you, Marla. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Kelly. Once again, thank you for joining us for the Vegan Stew. This was episode 66 for the Vegan Stew, which is amazing. So thank you for supporting us and being part of the show, and all the questions and comments and the reactions. We see them, and it's fun for us. So that's why we're here, and sometimes it's like therapy session for us as well. Thank you, Bree. Greatly appreciated. Once again, if you'd like to win prizes, go to virtualredresslive.com, hit the contest tab, and enter to win one of our 12 prizes. It's a new month. And thank you to Superior Electrolytes for sponsoring our lives this month. And go to vegfestexpos.com if you like VegFests. We have, I think, 5 more to finish the year, including Durham, North Carolina, which is Triangle Veg Fest, which is a nonprofit, on June 25th. So we will see you then. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week, 7:30 Wednesday. Face yoga on Fridays at 11:30. Really cool. Check that out. Bye, guys.